What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Millennial Hollywood here on the Popcorn Talk Network. Today we have an incredibly special guest, so don't go too far.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
What is up, you guys? I am extremely excited to air this interview for you guys. It is Troian Bellisario. I was so happy to get an interview with her. We are talking about her new film, Feed, in which she deals with the death of her twin brother, her character Olivia, and also she develops an eating disorder. It's a very serious topic, but an amazing film. You guys got to check it out. It's released tomorrow, but let's go ahead and watch the interview. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Millennial Hollywood here on the Popcorn Talk Network. We are so excited to have one of my favorite actresses in the entire world, Troian Bellisario, and thank you for joining us.
Wow, that's like an awesome introduction. That is so kind.
Thank you so much. I actually loved supporting your LA film premieres. I've gone to Still a Rose and then also Martyrs so far. Every time cool. It's incredible.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I love watching you because you always bring so much depth to your characters, which a lot of actresses, they try to get there, but you really dive in and become that character.
Wow, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, I want to talk about Feed. We're so excited to talk about Feed.
Yes, please.
I watched it 2 nights ago, and I was floored. It was such an amazing thing, and I love that you spoke on such a topic so close to your heart. Mm-hmm. A lot of people may be too scared, or they'll think it's taboo to talk about those types of things.
Yeah.
And whenever you first came out to tell everyone about your eating disorder, was it something where you were surprised at how much love and support that you got from everyone?
Well, I think that, truthfully, and this is sort of what I wanted to examine, when I wrote Feed, was that I didn't know what was happening. Mm-hmm. I was experiencing, my own illness, mm-hmm. and because I was so deeply involved with my own patterns and restrictions, I didn't know that I was suffering. And so really my family and friends and teachers, as Olivia's do in the film, they are the ones who have to come out and say, we notice that something's wrong, we don't know what's going on with you. And it's really not until, she speaks to a therapist who says, do you ever have this voice, do you ever experience this? I think this is what you're struggling with.
Definitely. I think that moment in the film was my favorite and most frustrating, just because he was trying to tell you the signs, you might have this voice inside of your head, and I'm okay, listen to him, and meanwhile your brother Matt is just screaming in your face, and it's it took a while to be able to break down that barrier and really listen to him. Right. But at that moment in the film, I was so my jaw just dropped. I'm finally, she took his advice and kind of broke out of that pattern.
Yeah, it's a very, very important moment for her as a character, and I think it's important for anybody who's struggling with it, because you have such an intense relationship with your disease and with what it has done for you. People form these behaviors and patterns because they are in reaction to something, and Olivia is in reaction to grief, mm-hmm. to losing such a huge part of her life. And so for me, what I wanted to explore with that was, if what you're trying to avoid is losing your brother, mm-hmm. and dealing with his death, and here you have this thing that looks like your brother screaming at you saying, you're going to drive me away, you're going to do this if you treat yourself, or if you take care of yourself, mm-hmm. Then how do you deal? Do you choose life? Do you choose to be with him in death? It's a really important moment for her character.
Definitely. And this is something you've called multiple times your passion project, which is so cool. You've said it took you 8 years, I think, to write. You have been a little busy the past 7 years.
True.
But
that is.
Have you ever kind of pushed it aside a little bit just because it was too painful to relive some of the memories?
I think for me, writing it was always really cathartic. Mm-hmm. It was a way for me to, because it wasn't my story, which was great, but I got to examine some of the themes and some of the behaviors and all of these, my relationship to my disease through Olivia. It was a way for me to remain in constant conversation with my recovery. Mm-hmm. And so writing it was very cathartic, because I was constantly having to look at it and say, okay, am I lying right now when I'm writing this scene? Am I trying to protect my disease? Am I trying to, say that behaving this way is okay? Or am I being honest, mm-hmm. about what it's like to struggle? Acting it was very different. Acting it was really challenging. particularly physically putting myself, through the weight loss, and putting myself in a room where I was writing lines for an actor to say to me that were actually like the physical manifestation of things that my disease says to me. I was like, okay, this is tough, and why am I doing this? There were a lot, particularly for me, I remember I had a moment when we were shooting the hospitalization scenes, and I was wandering around the hospital, and I just turned to my director, Tommy, and I was like, why did I do this? Why am I back here? And I was intensely triggered, and he was like, you're doing this because if you can speak out about this and you can inspire other people to get help in the way that you got help, you could save a life. So he said, I'm gonna need you to be strong for the next 5 days, and then I'm gonna get you out of this hospital. I remember he looked at me and he was like, and we're gonna be out and you're gonna be done. And if we can inspire somebody to health, then it will be worth it.
That's incredible. And I love how it is so inspiring for people who are going through this. Like, they may not really understand what's happening to them. So like a movie like this might be able to kind of open up their minds to be like, wow, like I do have a problem. I need to get some help. On another side of that, for people like me who have never experienced something like that, it really kind of opened my eyes to like a whole new world. Like, I didn't know the symptoms really. I didn't know that sometimes that you can hear a voice inside of your head. I didn't know any of that. So knowing what I know now, and whenever I watch it again with my family, I hope that we all become more educated to be able to be aware of the people around us. Because I think that is a huge impact that this film will have as well for people who are able to now kind of see people in a different light and maybe help save them in a sense.
Thank you. I'm really, really happy that it resonated with you in that way. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to say, okay, so in the movie, your twin Matt, Tom Felton, super big fan.
Awesome.
So what was it like getting him on board? Because he is just like a huge star as well.
He's massive. Actually, one of the most interesting things was when this film almost came together, I think 4 years ago, he was going to play Julian, the boyfriend. Yeah. And so we met him and we talked and we hit it off great, and he had he also felt like the film resonated with him because he was like, I know people who have struggled with this, and I feel like it's a really beautiful and important story. And then it was like a tragedy because I was like, oh my God, amazing, great, you're gonna be a part of this. And then the film fell apart. Yeah. And I was like, ugh. And then it was cool because then when it started to come back in a new way, I approached him again and I said, would you want to do this? And he said, yeah, absolutely, but I want to play Matt. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, totally. Because the thing about Tom, which is so wonderful, and what Matt needed to be, is he needed to be charming and funny and lovable, and he also needed to be able to be cruel and abusive, and he rode that line between portraying Matt the brother and Matt the personification of the disease so well. And I think that, I don't know, yeah, I'm so thrilled that he was able to do the role because he was amazing.
That's awesome. And I also want to say with this film, I love how real it is, but also I wanted to ask with Olivia, she at first kind of hears this voice inside of her head, and she almost feels like it might be comforting at first because her brother who is gone is in front of her again. Yeah. And so I guess maybe because it started off in such a comforting place, did she just not realize that like her brother probably wouldn't want her to do the things that he was asking? I guess she maybe got so comfortable and then just didn't see the signs that it was going downhill.
Well, the thing that I really wanted to explore with that is that, eating disorders oftentimes manifest as a coping mechanism. For Olivia particularly, it was with grief. For many other people, it can be as a reaction to extreme situations of pressure or trauma, sexual abuse, or, there's so many different reasons, depression. And so something will happen, a triggering event, and then you attempt to exercise control over parts in your life as a response to that, because it's so traumatic what happens. It's so traumatic what happens to Olivia in losing Matt, that she's, that what I wanted to show was that originally, sometimes when you engage with an eating disorder, it is essentially getting your life back in a state of control. You're handling it. You're compartmentalizing those feelings, or you are controlling your intake of food, or your relationship with other people. And that's making you able to deal with the rest of your life. So I wanted Matt, when he comes back for the first time, to be a comfort. I wanted her to get back on track in school and to say, oh, look, I can have this relationship with Julian. I can get back on track to being valedictorian. Like, I'm fine. And for her to sort of build up this world that couldn't sustain itself before the bottom gets pulled out and before she realizes that, in fact, actually, this is the thing that's going to destroy her.
Yeah, and she got so comforted that he was there that she, even after he basically wanted her to like jump off the balcony, even at that point, she was still thinking he knows what he's doing, like he's trying to help me here. But what I wanted to ask was, why did you think Olivia felt so guilty? Like maybe she was responsible for his death in a sense, because I feel like she felt somewhat responsible. Yeah,
she definitely does. I think that there's a lot of guilt, particularly I think when you lose somebody so close to you, about why am I the one who's surviving? You know, why did they have to die and I didn't? And that's the traumatic event of the car accident. You know, we were in the same car accident. We were born of the same two people. Why did I survive and why did he die? Was it something I did? Was it something I said? And all of these, you know, things that you question when you're dealing with a loss. But particularly when he asks her to jump from the roof and join him in death, a really important thing for me to talk about through the film is that, you know, eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of all mental illnesses. And it can be from, you know, cardiac arrest or from internal damage, but it's also from suicide. Because I think sometimes when you're that engaged with your eating disorder, you feel like there is literally no way out. And taking your life is a way to end the pain. And that's why she asks, she says, you know, will it hurt? And he says, you know, nothing will hurt anymore. But that was a really important scene in order for Olivia to hit rock bottom, because when she's hospitalized and she gets that chance to live again and to seek treatment and to find a way of living without her eating disorder, she can see how beautiful life can be.
Definitely. And I love at the end where she's able to kind of figure out, okay, and we know that she's going to get back on the right steps to recovery, and the relationship she's starting out now, and like having, it seems like he's there for her as well, and is going to kind of, not like, he kind of like made light of it, like, you know what, like, you know, everyone goes through things, you're going to be okay, and I'm going to be here to get you through it.
Yeah.
Which I loved.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you know, and I think the important thing about that final scene is that here she is engaging romantically with somebody from a place of health and, you know, from a place of recovery. And it's not that Matt's not in the room. She can still see him and she can still hear him, but it's about the way that she's going to choose to engage with him, or she's going to choose to engage with, you know, Julian and the rest of her life.
Definitely. And one last question. We just found out that you are going to be on Where Did You Go, Bernadette, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
And have you read the book?
Yes, I did. I loved it so much.
That's awesome. And like to get to work with Cate Blanchett and Kristen Wiig, like I'm sure that's going to be a dream for you. Oh my God, I'm super excited. I wish that I had scenes with Kristen Wiig, because I feel like, actually maybe I don't, because I feel like I wouldn't be able to contain myself. I'd probably just like die laughing. But I feel so grateful to be a part of, you know, this job, and the book is so amazing and the script is incredible, and, you know, Richard Linklater and Cate Blanchett and everybody who's in the ensemble, it's just such an incredible crew of people. I feel very, very fortunate. That's amazing. And you guys make sure to check out Feed. It goes live tomorrow, July 18th. Yes, and what streaming services? It's going to be on iTunes and on VOD at first, and then we'll see after that. But please check it out. Thank you. Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a dream to interview you. No, you're like on my dream list. Oh my God, this has been such an incredible interview. Thank you so much. Well, thanks for joining us. And where can everyone find you on social media? Gosh, my handles are all, it's so weird. It's Sleep in the Garden without an E. So I think if you type it into most things, you'll see it says Troian Bellisario, and it'll come up. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure to tune in next week for another special guest, and we will see you guys then. Bye. Bye. All right, you guys, that was so much fun. Such an incredible interview. A dream, honestly, to interview her. But you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me everywhere at Mr. Dakota T Jones. Make sure to check out Feed starting tomorrow, July 18th. It's going live on most streaming services. I also want to give a quick shout out to Amy Cassandra, who was my camera lady today. Love her so much. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next week.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.